Have you ever wondered why some people, despite their cruelty, rise to power, while others, full of love and light, suffer silently in the shadows? Have you ever screamed into the void asking, "Where is justice?" and received only silence in return? Perhaps you were looking for a God that rewards virtue and punishes sin. But the universe, the universe, is not a judge, not a God, not even a teacher. It is a mirror, cold, vast, impeccably honest. It doesn't care who you are. It simply reflects your vibration, reflects your truth, reflects the silent contracts of your soul. Tonight we journey into a reality where karma isn't punishment, it's precision. Where what you see outside is simply the echo of what you are within. This is not a sermon, this is not a lesson. This is a reflection. Welcome to the mirror of the cosmos. We live in a world conditioned to think in binaries. Reward and punishment, good and evil, success and failure. From childhood, we are taught that if we behave, we'll be rewarded. If we misbehave, we'll be punished. So naturally, we carry this framework into our understanding of the universe. We think of the universe as a divine judge, a cosmic courtroom handing out karmic justice. But what if we've misunderstood the entire architecture of existence? What if the universe doesn't punish or reward, but simply reflects who and what we truly are? This realization can be terrifying or liberating. Terrifying because there is no one to blame. Liberating because there is no one to fear. The pain we receive is not a punishment. The blessings we hold are not prizes, they are feedback, reflections. A sacred mirror showing us not just what we desire, but what we vibrate. In this video, we will ascend into the ancient truth. The universe is not here to please you. It is here to reflect you. And in that reflection lies the map to awakening. Part 1. The Cosmic Mirror. What is the universe reflecting? Imagine you're standing before the most perfect mirror ever created. It doesn't distort, it doesn't delay, it doesn't judge, it simply reflects. Not your outer appearance, but your inner essence, your beliefs, your fears, your frequencies. That is the universe. That is the cosmic mirror. Most people live their lives thinking the universe is something out there, separate, watching, waiting, maybe even testing them. But the awakened soul sees differently. The universe is not observing you from afar. It is inside you, surrounding you, echoing you. It is the field in which your vibration paints pictures. It does not invent what you see, it reveals it. So when life feels unkind, chaotic, or cruel, the natural instinct is to say, "Why is this happening to me?" But the deeper question is, what part of me is this reflecting? You see, the mirror doesn't punish you with heartbreak, it reflects the heartbreak you never healed. It doesn't curse you with abandonment. It echoes your belief that you are unworthy of being chosen. It doesn't reward your prayers. It reveals whether those prayers are lined with faith or fear. What you believe, truly, deeply believe, becomes what you experience. Not because the universe is rewarding your belief, but because it is mirroring it. In this mirror, thoughts matter, but energy speaks louder. You may say you want love, but if your vibration hums with rejection, the mirror will reflect loneliness. You may dream of abundance, but if your energy pulses with scarcity, the mirror reflects struggle. The mirror does not lie to comfort you, it reveals to awaken you. There are no secrets here, only frequencies, only reflections. This is why two people can live in the same world but experience completely different realities. One walks through life and sees beauty, connection, and miracles. Another sees betrayal, chaos, and fear. The difference is not their world. The difference is their mirror, the frequency they emit, and what it attracts. And here's the twist: the universe doesn't reflect what you say you are, it reflects what you believe you are. Even beliefs buried beneath layers of pretending, especially those. You cannot trick the mirror. It does not respond to masks, it responds to essence. That's why healing is not just therapeutic, it's spiritual. Every unhealed wound vibrates, whether or not you acknowledge it. Every thought pattern you inherited from childhood still echoes in the field, shaping your world without your awareness. The mirror doesn't wait for you to become conscious, it reflects what is. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. This truth is not cruel, it is sacred, because in that reflection lies power. The power to transform not the mirror, but yourself. You don't need to change the people, the situations, the outcomes. You need only to shift the signal you are sending. The rest will follow, because the mirror must. The ancient mystics understood this. That's why they didn't fight the world. They observed it. That's why they turned inward, not to escape, but to adjust the vibration from within. They knew the mirror could only change when they did. Even in modern physics, this is echoed in the observer effect, the idea that the act of observing influences the observed. Consciousness shapes energy, intention affects matter. We are not passive witnesses of reality. We are co-creators. Frequency first, form follows. So pause and ask, what is your life currently showing you? Not what you wish it would, but what it actually is. That is your reflection. That is your mirror. You can fear this truth or fall in love with it. Because once you embrace it, you stop waiting for life to change. You become the change. You stop begging the universe for a sign. You become the signal. You stop blaming the world and begin sculpting your own. There's nothing personal in what life is showing you. It's not judging you, it's just showing you. You, that's the cosmic mirror. Not fair or unfair, not kind or cruel, just true. And when you begin to understand that, you stop looking for blessings or punishments. You begin looking for resonance. You start asking, what am I resonating with, instead of why did this happen to me? You shift from victimhood to vibrational mastery. And here's the most magical part. The moment your vibration shifts, the mirror shifts instantly. Not always in form, but always in frequency. You feel the peace before the peace arrives. You feel the love before the lover returns. You feel the abundance before the bank account proves it. Because the universe reflects vibration, not timing. It is always now. It is always here. It is always you. So the next time life holds up its mirror, don't turn away. Look deeply. Look lovingly. Look honestly. What you see may shake you, but it may also awaken you. And in that moment of reflection, you may finally recognize not just what you've become, but what you've always been. A creator, a frequency, a soul with a mirror in its hands. Part 2. Vibration over virtue. Why intent outweighs action. We live in a world obsessed with doing. Actions, outcomes, measurable steps. We are taught from an early age that what we do defines who we are. That goodness lies in deeds. That morality is a matter of visible choices. But the universe does not read your resume. It does not reward you for performance. It reflects vibration. And vibration begins in intention. You could give $1,000 to the poor, and the universe may still reflect scarcity back to you. If your gift was rooted in guilt, in fear of judgment, in the need to appear generous. Another may give nothing at all, but walk in absolute gratitude, openness, and trust. And abundance will flow toward them, not as a reward but as a resonance. This is the truth that frustrates many. They say, I've done everything right, I've worked hard. I've been kind, I've helped others. So why am I still stuck? And the mirror says back, because you did those things in the vibration of needing, of proving, of fear, not in alignment, not in wholeness. Virtue, when used to manipulate the mirror, becomes illusion. This is not a license to act cruelly. On the contrary, when your vibration is aligned with love, your actions naturally flow into compassion. But when you use action to bypass the inner work, when you hope that external behavior can erase internal discord, the mirror will not cooperate. The mirror cannot be tricked. Intent is the seed. Action is the fruit. If the seed is poisoned, the fruit will never nourish. The universe does not care what you do if what you do is not aligned with who you are. A smile delivered with resentment is not kindness. A gift wrapped in resentment is not generosity. A sacrifice made to earn approval is not love, it is manipulation dressed in virtue. But here's where it gets even deeper. Intent is not always conscious. Many people act from unconscious wounds. They chase love to avoid abandonment. They seek status to silence shame. They serve others to feel needed, because deep inside they feel worthless. And from the outside, these actions seem noble, admirable. But the vibration underneath whispers otherwise. The universe does not listen to your voice. It listens to your signal. So if your life keeps echoing back experiences that contradict your actions, look deeper. Not at what you're doing, but at why you're doing it. The mirror reveals not the face you put on for the world, but the frequency you've forgotten you're sending. This is why spiritual awakening often begins with discomfort. Because when you start to vibrate at a new level, old actions no longer feel right. People you used to please now feel draining. Roles you used to play begin to crumble, and suddenly you can't fake it anymore. Your soul demands alignment, And when that shift begins, when you start choosing intention over obligation, energy over expectation, you may lose some things: approval, familiarity, control, but you will gain something greater: resonance, truth, authentic magnetism. You'll begin to attract not what looks right, but what feels right, not what you think you deserve, but what matches your essence. The people in your life will shift. Some will leave, unable to resonate with the new you. Others will arrive, not because you chased them, but because you became a match to their vibration. And the irony? When you stop trying to be good and start trying to be whole, goodness flows through you effortlessly. Not because you're trying, but because you're being. You were never meant to perform your way into grace. You were meant to remember you already are it. The old paradigm says, do good to receive good. The new paradigm whispers, be true and let life mirror that truth. So let go of performance, let go of the checklist, let go of virtue as currency. Instead ask, what is the energy behind my action? What feeling fuels this choice? If it is fear, pause. If it is shame, breathe. If it is love, proceed. The mirror will respond accordingly. It always does, because the universe does not weigh your deeds on scales of justice. It vibrates with your frequency. It harmonizes with your intent. It dances with your resonance. This is why two people can take the same action and receive wildly different results. It's not the doing, it's the being beneath the doing. That is the law of vibration. So if you want to shift your life, don't do more. Feel deeper. Get honest. Peel back the layers of conditioning, of obligation, of performance. Let your vibrations speak first. The actions will follow. And when they do, they will not need validation, because they will feel like truth. In the cosmic mirror, it is not action that is king. It is alignment. And in that alignment, everything begins to shift, not as a favor, not as a prize, but as a reflection. Part 3. Karma as frequency, not reward, not revenge. When most people hear the word karma, they imagine a cosmic courtroom, a place where good deeds are tallied like coins and bad actions filed like sins. They think of karma as revenge in disguise, a divine slap on the wrist for every lie told, every heart broken. What goes around comes around, they say, with a sense of justice sharpened by anger. But what if karma is not revenge? What if karma is not even reward? What if karma is resonance? Karma, in its purest spiritual essence, is not about punishment. It's about echo. Karma is the returning vibration of who you are, not the retribution for what you did. The law of karma is not a judge. It is a mirror with memory. You are not being punished for what you did 5 years ago. You are experiencing the continuation of the frequency that those actions came from. If that vibration has not shifted, it continues. The mirror reflects what still lives in you, not what once passed through. This is why some people seem to get away with everything. They lie, they steal, they harm, and yet they rise. It makes no sense in a justice-based worldview, but in a vibration-based reality, it becomes clear. Their actions may be wrong, but their dominant frequency, confidence, belief, certainty continues to generate reality until it is disrupted from within. That too is karma, not as consequence, but as continuation. You see, karma is less a moral ledger and more a vibrational imprint. The universe does not punish you for betraying someone. It simply reflects the guilt or shame or belief in betrayal that now lives within you. If you do wrong but truly feel no remorse, no guilt, no inner dissonance, then your vibration may not attract punishment. But the dissonance lives somewhere, often buried, often unseen, yet still vibrating. This is why self-awareness is everything, because karma operates on frequency, not intention. It responds not to your logic, but to your vibration. You can say, I didn't mean to hurt anyone, but if your energy is loaded with fear, avoidance, blame, or denial, that is what continues. That is what echoes. The ancient mystics understood karma not as fate, but as flow, a current you ride, shaped by inner patterns. And you can change it, not by begging for mercy, not by paying off spiritual debts, but by shifting your frequency, not through punishment, but through presence. Let's take an example. Imagine someone who always feels abandoned. Every relationship they enter seems to end in betrayal. They wonder, why me? What did I do to deserve this? The karmic answer is not that they are being punished. The reflection is this: somewhere in their vibration lives a belief, conscious or not, that they are unworthy of being chosen or safe in love. That frequency attracts partners who confirm the pattern. Not because the universe is cruel, but because the mirror is accurate. The answer is not to avoid love, nor to blame love. It is to become conscious of the vibration that is calling those experiences forth, and to heal it. That's karma, not revenge, not reward, but an invitation. Every karmic loop is a lesson in disguise, not to suffer, but to awaken. Because here's the secret, karma is not just a mirror, it is a teacher. A compassionate, persistent teacher who shows you over and over what still needs healing, not to punish you, but to free you. The mirror will reflect the same wound until you see it, until you feel it, until you choose differently. And the moment you do, the reflection changes. Not because the universe forgives you, but because you no longer emit the vibration that drew the pattern to you in the first place. In this light, karma is empowering. You are not trapped by your past. You are not cursed by your ancestry. You are not doomed by your mistakes. You are simply vibrating, and vibrations can shift. That is the miracle. That is the freedom. But here's where many go wrong. They try to change karma by changing behavior alone. If I do more good, karma will reward me. But karma doesn't respond to calculation. It responds to consciousness. You cannot outact a low vibration. You must become a new frequency, and that begins with awareness. Start noticing what repeats in your life, the patterns, the people, the pains, not as curses, but as clues. Ask, what belief is this experience echoing back to me? And listen, not with judgment, with curiosity, with love. Then go deeper. Ask yourself, what part of me still thinks I deserve this? What vibration am I still emitting without even realizing it? That is where karma hides. That is where karma heals. Because when you shift the root, the fruit changes. Karma is not here to hurt you. It's here to reveal you, to show you the internal scripts you've outgrown, the beliefs you've inherited, the wounds you've buried, the cycles you've mistaken for fate. And once seen, they can be released. The moment you start radiating worthiness, love, trust, peace, the mirror reflects a different world. Not instantly in form, but instantly in feeling. And feeling is the first proof of freedom. So let go of the idea that karma is coming to get you. It's not chasing you. It's following you like a shadow, waiting for you to stop running, turn around, and see what part of you still needs the light. That's not punishment, that's grace. Part 4, Shadow Work. The echoes you avoid still reside. There are parts of you you've tried to forget, moments you buried, emotions you denied, aspects of your being you locked away in the basement of your psyche, hoping that if you never looked at them again, they'd disappear. But they didn't. They linger. Not as memories, but as energy. And energy never lies dormant. It echoes. This is the realm of shadow, not evil, not sin, but the unconscious, the unseen. The parts of yourself you rejected because someone somewhere taught you they were wrong. Maybe it was your anger, your sadness, your desire, your fear. So you learned to disown them, to smile instead of scream, to achieve instead of feel, to numb instead of face. And you did well, perhaps. You succeeded. You became kind. You became strong. But inside, the shadow waited, not as a punishment, but as a truth still vibrating beneath the surface, still echoing into your reality. Because what you avoid doesn't die, it migrates into your choices, into your relationships, into your health, into your future. You cannot outrun the shadow, you can only turn toward it. Shadow work is the courageous act of meeting the echoes you've avoided. It is the sacred journey of reuniting with your own forgotten self. Not to indulge pain, but to liberate energy, because everything in the shadow still controls you from behind the veil. Think of it this way. The mirror of the universe doesn't just reflect your light, it reflects your shadow. That's why you keep attracting the same kind of partner, the same kind of betrayal, the same kind of wound. It's not a curse, it's a signal. This is still here, this is still alive. You cannot shift the reflection without shifting the residue. So how do you begin shadow work? Not with blame, not with shame, but with stillness, with honesty, with the willingness to feel what you once numbed, to hold space for the child in you who learned that love must be earned, or that silence is safer than truth, or that crying is weakness. You revisit that child not to relive their pain, but to reclaim their power. Because every shadow holds a key. Anger, when honored, becomes boundaries. Fear, when held, becomes intuition. Grief, when felt, becomes wisdom. Even jealousy, when examined, reveals unclaimed desires waiting to be seen. The problem is never the feeling, it's the repression. And the more you repress, the louder the reflection becomes. That's why life feels louder when you try to ignore it. That's why chaos erupts just when you think you've got it together. The mirror is not punishing you, it's reflecting the part of you knocking on the door from within. See me, it says, because only what is seen can be healed, and only what is healed stops echoing. You see, shadow work is not about fixing yourself, it's about integrating yourself. Wholeness is not found in perfection, it is found in inclusion. Light without shadow is a lie. Light that includes shadow becomes radiance. When you embrace your shadow, you become real. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You stop needing the world to validate you because you have validated the parts of you you once disowned. And in that act of inner reunion, your vibration shifts, and the mirror reflects something new. The people around you change, not because they changed, but because you are no longer resonating with their roles in your unhealed story. The chaos quiets, the resistance softens, the reality bends, not out of magic, but out of match. Because the moment you integrate what you feared, you stop attracting reflections of that fear. This is not easy work. It requires gentleness, patience, radical compassion, but the rewards are not gold or glory. The rewards are peace, clarity, authentic power. Shadow work is the end of pretending and the beginning of presence. So ask yourself, what part of me have I been avoiding? What feeling do I keep numbing? What truth do I still run from? Then go to it, not to destroy it, but to listen. The shadow is not the enemy. The shadow is the doorway, and on the other side is the part of you that has always been waiting to come home. Part 5: Synchronicity. When the mirror sends messages, there comes a moment, sometimes quiet and unannounced, when reality whispers back in a way that feels too precise to be random. A stranger says the exact words you needed to hear. A book falls off a shelf and answers a question you never dared ask aloud. A song plays, a clock repeats numbers, a feather lands in your path. You pause, you feel something shift in your chest. You sense the mirror is speaking. This is synchronicity, not coincidence, not magic tricks from the sky, but the language of the universe when it wants to show you. You are seen, you are heard, you are deeply entangled in a greater rhythm. Synchronicity is the mirror's way of sending messages. It is vibration translated into symbol, alignment made visible. It doesn't arrive because you deserve it. It arrives because you're finally in resonance with something deeper, your truth, your path, your calling. Most people miss synchronicity because they're too busy controlling outcomes, doubting signs, or dismissing intuition as foolish. But the awakened soul learns to listen, not with logic, but with presence. Synchronicity is not logical, it is poetic. The universe is not a machine, it is a living intelligence, and it speaks not in commands, but in metaphors. When you begin to raise your frequency through healing, honesty, stillness, you start to notice the patterns. Life is no longer a string of random events. It becomes a tapestry woven with messages, symbols, echoes, and confirmations. The people who enter your life carry meanings. The delays you experience carry instructions. The dreams that haunt you carry blueprints. Every single thing becomes infused with intelligence, not because it changed, but because you finally tuned in. Synchronicity is the consequence of becoming coherent with the deeper currents of your life. It often shows up when you're at a crossroads. You've made no clear decision, but something inside you is stirring. You feel lost. Then a number repeats itself. A phrase is heard again and again. A stranger mirrors your thoughts, and you realize the mirror is not just showing your shadow, it's also guiding your light. But here's the sacred key. Synchronicity does not force. It invites. The universe will never override your free will. It will nudge you, not push you. It will whisper, not shout. It will send reflections, not rules. You are still the one choosing. You are still the creator. But now, you're creating in collaboration with a field far more ancient and wise than your mind. So how do you work with synchronicity? First, slow down. The faster you move, the more signs you miss. Stillness opens the signal. Second, feel, don't just think. Synchronicity is not decoded with intellect. It is received through feeling. That chill down your spine, that tug in your belly, that sudden clarity in your chest. Those are the instruments of interpretation. Third, trust. Not every sign needs proof. Not every message comes with a manual. Sometimes the meaning unfolds only after you leap. The mirror rarely shows the entire staircase, just the next step. Some signs are simple: a 1-on-1, feathers, repeated dreams. Others are complex: chance meetings, reversed outcomes, sudden loss that turns into transformation. All are valid, all are personalized. The universe does not speak the same way to every soul. It knows your symbols, it uses your myths, it enters through your imagination. That's why synchronicity is so beautiful. It's not impersonal, it's intimate. It's the mirror leaning close, saying, "You're on the path, keep going." But beware, chasing signs is not the same as living in alignment. Synchronicity is a byproduct of resonance, not a substitute for wisdom. Don't become addicted to looking for meaning. Become committed to living from your truth. The signs will follow, always. When you are in your authentic vibration, the mirror sings back in symbols. Life becomes a conversation. You ask, not with words, but with energy. And the answer returns, not in sentences, but in sacred sequence. Synchronicity is also a test, not of morality, but of awareness. Will you notice? Will you follow the pull, even if it defies logic? Will you step into the mystery when the reflection becomes impossible to ignore? Many turn away at this point. It feels too much like magic, too much like surrender. But those who stay begin to see the invisible architecture of existence. They don't just see the mirror, they walk with it. You may ask, but what if I'm wrong? What if I misread the signs? That's part of the dance. Trust is not certainty, it's willingness. And even if you misinterpret, the mirror is kind. It will send more. Life is not a one-shot message. It is a symphony, and you are invited to listen again and again. Your only job is to keep tuning in. So the next time the mirror speaks, pause. Don't rush. Don't demand an answer. Feel, smile. Whisper back, "I see you too." Because when synchronicity begins, the soul is awakening, the veil is thinning, and the path, while still mysterious, becomes unmistakably alive. Part 6, Manifestation Misunderstood. The mirror needs clarity. We've been told that we can manifest anything, that thoughts become things, that if we simply think hard enough, dream big enough, visualize long enough, reality will rearrange itself to meet our will. But what if this is only part of the truth? What if manifestation is not about forcing the mirror to bend, but about becoming so clear in vibration that the mirror has no choice but to reflect? You see, the universe is not a genie. It is not granting wishes based on how much you want something. It is responding always and only to clarity. And clarity begins not in desire, but in coherence. Most people do not manifest what they desire. They manifest what they are unclear about. They think one thing, feel another, and believe something else entirely. And in that internal chaos, the mirror reflects confusion. It's not that the universe is saying no, it's that the vibration is saying maybe. And the mirror can only reflect what is certain. You cannot declare abundance while vibrating in fear. You cannot speak love while hiding unworthiness in your bones. You cannot fake coherence. The mirror sees through every contradiction, and it reflects not your dreams, but your dominant frequency. Manifestation has been misunderstood because people focus on affirmations, vision boards, rituals, without tending to the field beneath, without clearing the noise, without aligning thought, feeling, and belief into one singular pulse. You don't manifest what you ask for. You manifest what you're aligned with. And alignment is not achieved through effort, it is revealed through honesty. You must become honest about what you actually believe, not what you want to believe. Not what you were told to believe, but what your energy still whispers in the dark. That's the true starting point, because even a small unconscious belief left unchecked can cancel out 1,000 affirmations. The mirror is not hearing your words, it is echoing your essence. This is why people often say, "But I wanted it so badly, why didn't it happen?" Because want by itself is rooted in lack. To want something implies its absence, and when your dominant signal is absence, the mirror shows you more of the same. That is not cruelty, that is coherence. And coherence is the law behind the reflection. So what must you do? You must become clear, not desperate, not obsessive, clear. That means knowing what you want, not just mentally but emotionally, somatically, spiritually. You must become the frequency of the outcome before the outcome arrives. You must walk as though it's already true. Speak as though you're already living it. Feel as though your nervous system has already adapted to the reality you wish to create. Because to the mirror, only vibration is real. The rest is decoration. But clarity is not control, and this is where many get stuck. They try to force the timeline. They try to shape the form. They demand that life deliver not just the essence of the desire, but the exact packaging. And when it doesn't, they collapse. But the mirror is wiser than your mind. It reflects what you need, not what your ego wants. It brings the lesson before the reward. It brings the becoming before the arrival. And in that becoming, you are prepared to hold what you've asked for. You must also understand, manifestation is not about creating something from nothing. It's about removing the interference between you and what already exists. Because all timelines already exist. All possibilities already vibrate in the field. You're not pulling something into existence. You're tuning into what is already there, and tuning requires clarity. So how do you cultivate that clarity? You begin by releasing contradiction. If you ask for love but fear intimacy, look there. If you dream of abundance but feel guilty for receiving, start there. If you long for freedom but are addicted to control, pause there. The block is not in the mirror. It is in the fog you carry within. Clarity is not loud. It is quiet. It is still. It comes when you stop performing and start listening. It arrives when your inner world becomes undivided, when you no longer speak one thing and feel another, when you become whole. That is when the mirror reflects what you truly are, not fractured fragments but focused being. And when that happens, manifestation becomes less about asking and more about allowing. You no longer chase, you no longer beg, you become. And the mirror with perfect neutrality says, yes, this is true. Let it be so. This is the power no one can give you. This is the secret no book can teach. Because clarity is not a concept, it is a frequency. And only you can tune yourself into it. So release the struggle. Release the noise. Release the idea that manifestation is about effort. It is not. It is about resonance. It is about matching. It is about becoming a clear signal in a field of distortion. When you do that, the mirror responds. Not as magic, as law, as truth. And what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Part 7. The Observer Effect. You're not watching the universe, you're shaping it. You were taught to believe the world is something you look at, a stage upon which life plays out while you watch from the audience, judging, reacting, surviving. You think of the universe as something out there, separate, operating on its own laws while you do your best to catch up. But what if you are not merely a spectator? What if the very act of watching bends the script? What if you are not watching the universe, you are shaping it? In quantum physics, this is known as the observer effect, a phenomenon where particles behave differently when observed. They shift, they collapse into form, they change depending on how we look. Reality, it turns out, is not fixed. It is responsive. It is participatory. It is co-created. And this isn't just science. It's ancient wisdom dressed in modern language. The mystics knew what the physicists are now proving. Consciousness is not a bystander. It is the architect. You are not simply in the universe. The universe is within you, responding to your gaze, your thoughts, your beliefs, your expectations. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the field itself, folding into form through attention. Every time you focus, you choose a version of reality to come alive. Not because you control everything, but because your consciousness collapses possibilities into presence. You may not create every event, but you influence every interpretation. And that interpretation shifts the signal. And that signal changes what the mirror reflects. What you expect, you invite. What you fear, you energize. What you deny, you prolong. What you embrace, you transform. This is the sacred power of observation. It is not passive, it is not harmless. It is the first step of manifestation. What you look at with belief begins to crystallize. What you observe with clarity begins to move toward you. What you reject or resist, you paradoxically keep alive, because even resistance is energy. Even denial is focus, and the universe is always listening to your energy, not your excuses. So pause and ask, what am I observing most? Not just externally, but internally. Are you constantly scanning for danger, for lack, for betrayal, for reasons to confirm your old pain? Then those confirmations will show up, not because the universe is punishing you, but because you're still observing through the lens of your wounding. The mirror reflects the gaze you give it. Shift the gaze and the reflection shifts. But shifting your gaze isn't about pretending. It's not about bypassing. It's not about saying I'm fine when your heart is screaming otherwise. It's about becoming aware of the lens itself. It's about recognizing that you are not the thoughts, you are the one observing them. And when you remember that, you take your power back. This is why awareness is the most spiritual act you can cultivate. Not knowledge, not belief. Awareness. The ability to watch without attachment, to witness without distortion, to choose your focus with intention. Because whatever you observe long enough begins to take shape, and whatever you observe with love begins to heal. You are not a machine recording reality. You are a soul projecting and receiving simultaneously. The mirror responds not just to what you see, but to how you see. And how you see is shaped by who you believe you are. Change your self-perception, and the entire universe rearranges to mirror that truth. This is why awakening begins with inner work. Because until you clean the window of the mind, everything you observe is distorted. You'll think the world is cruel when it is actually echoing your fear. You'll think life is unfair when it is actually reflecting your confusion. You'll think the divine is distant when it is actually waiting for you to turn inward. So don't just ask, what is happening around me? Ask, how am I looking at it? Because in that question lies the key. The moment you shift from passive observer to conscious participant, the universe responds, not as reward, but as resonance. The mirror has no choice. It reflects what you radiate, and what you radiate is shaped by how you observe. This isn't theory, this is your life. Look at the people around you, the roles they play, the challenges you face, the emotions you carry. These are not coincidences. These are reflections of your dominant focus. Shift the focus, and the story begins to change. Not instantly, not always visibly, but vibrationally, and vibration is always the beginning. So step out of the role of victim, step into the role of witness. Not the cold observer, detached and numb, but the sacred observer, alive and intentional. Look not with judgment, but with clarity. Observe not with fear, but with trust. Watch not to criticize, but to create. Because you are not just in the mirror, you are the one holding it. Part 8, Collective Reflection. Why the world reflects all of us. Look around you. The wars, the fires, the hunger, the floods, the disconnection, the greed, the cries that go unheard, and the wounds that go unseen. You may ask, why is the world like this? Why is there so much suffering? But the real question is more intimate, more unsettling, more liberating. What are we collectively vibrating? That this is what the mirror reflects. Because the universe does not reflect just the individual, it reflects the collective. It is the screen upon which all of our inner landscapes are projected, blended, echoed, and multiplied. The world is not broken, it is resonant. It is speaking back to us, as one soul, one field, one breath that forgot it was unified. Each of us is a note in the symphony. Each thought we carry, each fear we harbor, each hope we hold, it ripples outward. It doesn't vanish when unspoken. It integrates into the field. It merges with the thoughts of millions. And the field responds. The field organizes. The mirror reflects the average tone, and right now that tone is laced with fear, division, illusion, and yearning. Not because we are evil, but because we are unconscious. The world does not reflect the evil in us. It reflects the asleep parts, the fragmented parts, the parts that forgot we are one. This is why awakening is not personal, it is planetary. Every time one of us chooses healing over projection, peace over judgment, presence over distraction, the frequency shifts, and the mirror ripples. You may think your inner work is small, you may think your prayers go unheard, but consciousness does not operate on scale, it operates on influence. One coherent heart radiates farther than 1,000 reactive minds. One person in alignment can soften the field around them. This is not romanticism, this is physics, this is resonance. Think of a tuning fork. When one fork vibrates clearly, it influences the others near it. That's how coherence spreads. That's how peace becomes contagious. But it begins inside. You cannot scream at the world to be better if you are still at war within. You cannot demand unity while you shame the parts of humanity you don't understand. The mirror will not obey your commands. It will reflect your vibration. And collective reality is simply the echo of our collective signal. This is why blaming them is futile. There is no them. There is only we. The shadow you see in others is the shadow still unresolved within the species. You may not have created it, but you are still invited to help transmute it. Not through violence, not through shame, but through frequency, through being what is missing, through becoming the opposite of the chaos, not in defiance, but in devotion. If the world reflects fear, become safety. If the world reflects noise, become silence. If the world reflects cruelty, become compassion. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You are not separate from the field you're complaining about. You are part of it, and your shift matters. Collective reflection also explains why some things seem bigger than us. Global events, disasters, mass panic. These are not punishments. They are the field's way of releasing pressure. They are messages. They are symptoms. And like symptoms, they ask to be understood, not suppressed. We must listen to what they are showing us, not just fix the external, heal the internal cause, because the planet itself is a mirror too. Earth is not just a backdrop for our spiritual evolution. She is a living being responding to our collective coherence or incoherence. When we disconnect from nature, from soul, from each other, her body reflects that rupture. The drought, the pollution, the imbalance, not as revenge, but as response. But just as we have created this reflection, we can change it, not through panic, through presence, not through fear, through frequency. When enough of us remember who we are, not just as individuals, but as one organism, one heart, one field, the mirror begins to soften. The reality begins to reweave. The world begins to glow. Not because we forced it, but because we became it. So when you look at the world and feel despair, remember, the mirror is not showing you what's wrong. It is showing you what's asking to be healed, not out there, in here. And when you answer that call, not with anger, but with awareness, not with blame, but with embodiment, the world reflects something new. It reflects light, your light, our light, the light that was always there, waiting to be remembered. Part 9, Breaking the Illusion, Seeing the Mirror for What It Is. You spend most of your life mistaking the reflection for the source. You see chaos and assume it came from out there. You feel rejected and believe someone else holds your worth. You encounter limitation and assume it's the shape of reality. But what if all of it, every relationship, every obstacle, every breakthrough was never the cause, only the effect? What if reality itself is not what it appears to be, but a mirror wrapped in illusion? The greatest illusion is that the mirror is the truth. But the mirror shows not truth. It shows resonance. And resonance is determined by belief, by emotion, by expectation, by memory, by trauma, by energy. The world you see is not the world. It is your version of it, filtered through a lens you forgot you were wearing. You don't see reality. You see your nervous system. You see your inner child. You see your past unresolved and projected forward like light through stained glass. And every time the reflection disturbs you, you scramble to fix the mirror while leaving the source untouched. But the mirror cannot be cleansed from the outside. To break the illusion is not to reject the mirror. It is to stop believing it has authority over you. It is to see it for what it is, a feedback loop, a divine instrument of echo. It shows you what you're ready to see, what you're ready to feel, what you're brave enough to transform. It is not your enemy. It is not your master. It is your servant. But only once you stop obeying its distortion and start owning your vibration. The illusion also convinces you that reality is permanent, that what you see today will be what you see forever. But the mirror is fluid. It changes with you. It updates as you update. And the moment you shift, the reflection begins to ripple. Sometimes slowly, sometimes instantly, always accurately. But if you believe the mirror is fixed, you'll never risk changing your posture. You'll say, this is just how life is. But it isn't. This is just how you've been resonating. And resonance is not a sentence, it's a choice. To see through the illusion, you must become radically honest about what you've been believing, about what you've been feeling, about what you've been avoiding. You must begin to track the reflection not as evidence of failure, but as a sacred clue. Ask, why would this show up now? What inside me matches this? What is this trying to wake up? In that moment, you stop being a victim. You start becoming a mystic. The veil begins to thin, and the mirror starts becoming transparent. And when the mirror becomes transparent, something beautiful happens. You stop reacting to the surface. You begin dancing with the source. You shift your frequency not to manipulate the outcome, but to embody the truth. You release the need to control the reflection because you trust the vibration behind it. You no longer need the mirror to change in order to feel peace, because your peace was never in the mirror, it was in you. This is liberation, not escape from the world, but awakening within it. Not transcendence of matter, but remembrance of energy. You begin to live not from reaction, but from resonance. You become the presence behind the picture, the awareness behind the reflection, the artist behind the canvas, and the illusion dissolves, not all at once, but layer by layer. Fear begins to fade, attachment begins to loosen, control begins to soften, because you no longer need the outer world to confirm the inner one. You have learned to read the mirror without being ruled by it. And in doing so, you reclaim your role, not as a puppet of reflection, but as a sculptor of frequency. This is what the mystics mean when they say, the world is illusion. They do not mean it is fake, they mean it is malleable. They mean it is impermanent, they mean it is a mirror, and you are the one holding the light. So breathe. Gaze into your life without judgment. See what is being shown, and remember, it's not the final truth, it's just the current echo. And echoes can be rewritten when the voice behind them changes tone. You are the voice, you always have been. Part 10. Returning to the source when the mirror dissolves. There comes a moment, not marked by fireworks or ceremony, when something inside you becomes still, not empty, but vast. Not silent, but full of unspeakable music. You no longer chase signs, you no longer fear reflections, you no longer argue with the mirror, because you've realized there is no mirror. Not in the way you thought. What you once called reality, what you once tried to control or decode, was never separate from you. It was you, fragmented into form, scattered across time, projected into circumstance, and now, as the seeking quiets and the self softens, the mirror begins to dissolve. Not because it's broken, but because you've remembered the source. The source was never a place, it was never far, it was never hidden behind a mountain or buried in a book. The source is awareness, the field behind all form, the stillness beneath all stories, the ocean behind every wave. And you are not standing outside of it, knocking. You are it. You've always been it. But the game of separation, the sacred forgetting, was part of the dance. The mirror existed not to deceive you, but to awaken you. Every shadow, every echo, every heartbreak was the universe knocking gently at the walls of your illusion, saying, come back, come in, come home. And now, you're here. The reflection no longer triggers. The projections no longer possess you. The stories of right and wrong, good and bad, reward and punishment, they no longer rule your perception. Because you've tasted what's beyond them, you've touched the source, not with your hands, but with your being. And in that space, judgment disappears, fear dissolves, time softens. But layer by layer, fear begins to fade, attachment begins to loosen, control begins to soften. Because you no longer need the outer world to confirm the inner one, you have learned to read the mirror without being ruled by it. And in doing so, you reclaim your role, not as a puppet of reflection, but as a sculptor of frequency. This is what the mystics mean when they say, the world is illusion. They do not mean it is fake, they mean it is malleable. They mean it is impermanent, they mean it is a mirror, and you are the one holding the light. So breathe, gaze into your life without judgment, see what is being shown, and remember, it's not the final truth, it's just the current echo, and echoes can be rewritten when the voice behind them changes tone. You are the voice, you always have been. Part 10. Returning to the source when the mirror dissolves. There comes a moment, not marked by fireworks or ceremony, when something inside you becomes still, not empty, but vast. Not silent, but full of unspeakable music. You no longer chase signs, you no longer fear reflections, you no longer argue with the mirror, because you've realized there is no mirror. Not in the way you thought. What you once called reality, what you once tried to control or decode, was never separate from you. It was you, fragmented into form, scattered across time, projected into circumstance. And now, as the seeking quiets and the self softens, the mirror begins to dissolve. Not because it's broken, but because you've remembered the source. The source was never a place, it was never far, it was never hidden behind a mountain or buried in a book. The source is awareness, the field behind all form, the stillness beneath all stories, the ocean behind every wave. And you are not standing outside of it, knocking. You are it. you've always been it. But the game of separation, the sacred forgetting, was part of the dance. The mirror existed not to deceive you, but to awaken you. Every shadow, every echo, every heartbreak was the universe knocking gently at the walls of your illusion, saying, "Come back, come in, come home." And now, you're here. The reflection no longer triggers. The projections no longer possess you. The stories of right and wrong, good and bad, reward and punishment, they no longer rule your perception. Because you've tasted what's beyond them. You've touched the source, not with your hands, but with your being. And in that space, judgment disappears. Fear dissolves, time softens. You become the witness and the witnessed, the breath and the breathing, the spark and the flame. You see that life has never been happening to you. It has been happening through you, as you. And the need for interpretation, for control, for resistance, melts in the light of this recognition. When the mirror dissolves, you no longer ask the universe to confirm who you are. You simply be. And being, pure and unguarded, radiates a frequency so clean, so unshakable, that the field reorganizes without force. You don't manifest from lack. You emanate from wholeness. You don't chase alignment. You become coherence. You don't strive for love. You are love remembering itself. This is not an ending. It is a beginning. The beginning of living from source instead of for validation. The beginning of embodying your frequency instead of fixing your reflection. The beginning of walking through life with eyes open, not to judge the mirror, but to walk through it, to walk as it, to walk as the one who no longer needs proof because truth has been embodied, no longer needs permission because presence is the permission. The world may still swirl, the waves may still rise, but within you there is ocean, within you there is stillness, and from that stillness you move, not in reaction but in resonance, not in defense but in devotion. You become not the one seeking light, but the one shining it, not to impress, but to remember, and to help others remember. Because when the mirror dissolves, you no longer see others as separate. You see yourself in all things. You speak less, but every word carries the weight of presence. You act slower, but each gesture carries the rhythm of eternity. You become the reflection of the divine, not because you tried, but because you surrendered, because you stopped trying to polish the surface and let the light come from within. This is the return, not to a place, but to a state, to the space before identity, to the knowing behind thought, to the stillness beneath every question. The mirror was the journey. The source is who you've always been. So now you see the universe was never keeping score. There is no cosmic ledger, no divine courtroom where angels mark your rights and wrongs. There is only a mirror, vast, eternal, unwavering. And in that mirror you do not see justice, you see truth. Not the truth you speak, but the truth you are, your thoughts, your emotions, your vibration. These are not invisible, they are the architects of your reality. If your life feels chaotic, look within. If peace surrounds you, bow to the stillness you've cultivated. The mirror does not lie, it does not flatter, and it does not wait. It simply reflects, with sacred indifference, the very essence you carry. What you meet in the outer world is not your punishment nor your prize, it is your projection. But here lies the divine paradox. If the universe is a mirror, you are both the reflection and the source. You are not a passive receiver of fate. You are a living frequency, shaping the glass that surrounds you. Every thought is a ripple, every feeling a tone, every belief a brushstroke painting the canvas of your life. So ask not what life is doing to you, ask what part of you it is showing you. That is where transformation begins. That is where freedom lives, not in controlling the reflection, but in changing the vibration that creates it. And when that shift happens, the mirror smiles back, not as a god, not as a judge, but as you, recognizing yourself at last. If this video awakens something ancient within you, something you've always known but couldn't explain, like, subscribe, and share this message with fellow seekers. The more we reflect together, the clearer the mirror becomes. You are not alone on this journey. Episode 4, The Universe Doesn't Reward or Punish, it only reflects. Have you ever felt that life is unfair, that the good suffer while the wicked thrive? In this soul-stirring video, we unveil a hidden truth long buried beneath religious doctrines and cultural beliefs. The universe is not a system of reward and punishment. It is a sacred mirror. Explore the mysteries of karma, vibration, synchronicity, shadow work, and manifestation. not as external forces, but as reflections of your inner world. This is not a sermon. This is a transmission, a revelation, a call to awakening for those who are ready to see. With poetic narration, profound insights, and a voice that reaches beyond the veil, this video is crafted for spiritual seekers, philosophers, and truth lovers from around the globe. Whether you're in the US, UK, Canada, or anywhere the soul can feel, this message is for you. Subscribe for weekly videos on spiritual awakening, universal laws, consciousness, energy, reincarnation, and the deeper truths of life. Keywords: SEO optimized, spiritual awakening, karma truth, universe reflection, law of vibration, manifestation secrets, shadow work, cosmic mirror, deep spiritual teachings, consciousness expansion, higher self, energy frequency, soul journey. Tu Kwa Chin, primary keywords: universe reflection, spiritual awakening, karma truth, the universe doesn't punish, cosmic mirror, law of vibration. Tu Kwa Marong, second words: mirror of the universe is a mirror, vibration and reality, spiritual truth about karma, karmic energy explained. Energy frequency and manifestation. The universe reflects your energy, reality is a mirror, law of attraction versus law of reflection, awakening journey, how the universe responds to your energy, why bad people succeed, life reflection, spiritual meaning.